Hi, and thanks for tuning in. In another video, I have a demonstration on how I make this dynamic block. It's basically just a window. So the block works really good, but when I make the window really big, these symbols for my glass panes are too small. So it doesn't look too great. So it's a perfect opportunity to show you how to use a lookup table in a dynamic block. And I'm going to show you a way to scale all these all at the same time. So anyways, let's go into the block editor. Okay, so how we're going to do this exactly is I'm going to add a linear parameter. It doesn't matter which direction it goes, but give it a length of 1. It doesn't need any grips, and we don't have to show the properties for this. I'm going to name this top right window symbol. Okay, next I'm going to add a scale action to that parameter. I'm going to add that symbol to the scale action selection set. So next what I have to do is I have to find the action, and there's one of them, there's going to be 2 of them, that stretches this particular symbol. And that's one of the 2 we're looking for. So I'm going to modify the selection set. And I got to add this parameter to the selection set. Now I have to find the other selection set. So unfortunately, when blocks get complicated, the graphical interface doesn't work 100% correctly. So to find this, I actually have to find my stretch action that's similar to this one that I just highlighted, except for up here. I'll know which one it is because it's set to my distance type is overridden to be Y distance only. So I'll know which one it is by clicking on it. And my distance multiplier is 0.75. So I actually know that it's this action that drives the Y direction, or the vertical movement of this symbol. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out my other video. I'll link to it at the end of this video. It's not a tutorial, it's just a demonstration of me creating this block, but it'll teach you everything you need to know basically about driving actions and their properties. Okay, so I'm going to modify this one as well, just the same as the other one. Just make sure my crossing window is the same. And I'm going to add this parameter to the selection set. So just a heads up, I'm going to have to add do these same steps for every symbol. And of course I can do multiple ones at the same time, but just to make this tutorial easier to follow, I'm only going to do one first. So imagine that I have one of these on every symbol, and that includes every visibility state. So as you can see, this is a bit of work, but once you complete it, the benefits it gives your dynamic block are far exceed the time you'll put into it. Okay, so anyways, the next thing we're going to add is a lookup table. So you can go to parameters, lookup, and then go to actions, then add a lookup action, but just go to parameter sets. It's way quicker. So I'm going to add my lookup. I'm going to call it window symbol scale. How about? I gotta right click and go to display lookup table. Top right window symbol. Eventually we're gonna fill this up with more properties. So now you can see why I made that parameter 1. I'll just close this just so you can see. This parameter here that drives my scale action, I've set the length to 1. That way I don't have to do any math when I go into this lookup table. So 1 inch length corresponds with 100% of the size as that object exists right now. So if I do 1.5, it would equate to 150% of the size. Oops. There's other ways to do this as well, including using the constraint parameters. That gets very complex, and of course if you have AutoCAD Lite, you don't have this tab. You can use blocks with constraint parameters in AutoCAD Lite, you just can't create them. So okay, I think this is going to work as intended for that one symbol, so I'm going to close the block editor and just show you what we added to this. Save the changes. Okay, so hopefully this works. Don't be discouraged if when you make these changes it doesn't work the first try. Oops, I gotta... Oh, I see. What I did is I didn't make this visible in all object visibility. Show for all states. But ultimately this is only applicable for one of our visibility states. Okay, let's see what happens now. So now when we resize this window, we have options to drive the size of that one symbol there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my block editor. I'm going to do that same step for all of these. I'm going to add a linear parameter and a scale action. Then I'm going to go through every one of these applicable actions and add these parameters to the selection set. Because if you don't add it to the selection set, when this moves, this parameter won't move with it and it'll screw everything up. So anyways, I'm going to pause the video, finish doing that, and then resume the video and show you what I did, of course. Okay, so we're back now. So it's a bit painstaking, but I got all those parameters added to each one of these symbols. So this thing's working pretty good now. It took a couple tries. If you have any problems, it's most likely one of your parameters hasn't been added to the stretches selection set. If you find these symbols are moving around on you or moving unintendedly. So you have to be very meticulous when you do something like this. So the last thing left is I haven't added it to the first panel yet. And I'm going to do one other little improvement to this block just to help you learn something. So anyways, just to show you one more time, I'm going to add the scale to this last symbol. So I'll do that by going into the block editor, of course. So just like before, I'm going to add a parameter, make the distance 1 unit long, 1 inch for imperial, 1 millimeter for metric, which would be really small in that case. You could use 100 millimeters and just in the same fashion, just don't use a, well, first make sure you use an integer and preferably something rounded to the nearest 10. So what I'm just doing here is I don't want the properties to show up on these parameters, or else when I'm in model space and I click on the block, there'll just be a huge list of measurements that I don't need in my properties. So I'm just going to name this middle symbol, window symbol. So I saved this just so I can go into that lookup table and show you exactly what I've done. Well, I almost forgot to add the scale action to this. Okay, that's added. And I might as well redo my selection sets right now. So I'm going to add this, and I'm going to add this window symbol scale to this selection set as well. So I just want to find that action one more time so I can describe why I added that. So this action, if you're curious, so I have to regenerate. So the distance type is Y distance, meaning this action can only drive object geometry in the vertical direction, and my distance multiplier is set to 0.5. So when I stretch this block, that's why this only stretches halfway. Okay, now we'll go into the lookup table. So unfortunately, you have to type out these rules manually. Perfect, it's working. And so I added this grip to that selection set just so it doesn't scrunch down too close to my grip right here. It's always going to be at the mid height of this window. I could always add more rows to this, obviously. That will only take seconds. So this little tip, it's not just for a window block, obviously. This is a very useful technique you can use in a lot of different dynamic blocks. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, check out some of the other videos on my channel, including I show you how to build this guy as well. So anyways, thanks very much for watching.